astonishing how many women, 11 million businesses, are majority owned by women today in the U.S.
That's very exciting.
It is exciting.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
And yet there are some issues still that I think are unique to women. You, Joanna, like Ivanka, are going into a field that's your father.
Yes.
What's your question for Ivanka?
My question is, I work a lot in a male-dominated field, as you do, and I wonder, how do you maintain a balance between a sense of self, some sense of femininity, while also being assertive enough without being too aggressive?
It's very funny. In my book, Arianna Huffington had a great quote, and she said that for a man to be considered cruel, he has to be Joe McCarthy. For a woman to be considered cruel, all she has to do is put you on hold. So I thought,
does everyone live through that?
Well, I spent a lot of time reflecting on my mother's experience because she did what I'm doing today 20 years ago. So just seeing how she had to approach the work environment, and even the whole 80s female style. You know, shoulder pads, pantsuit. I mean, it was literally a simulation to the point of aesthetics. So it is really an interesting balance. But I, for one, have realized that as I gain experience and as I gain confidence and have these, you know, small and then subsequently larger successes in my professional career, I become much more open with who I am naturally, and I put the burden on other people to accept that as opposed to taking that on for myself.
So the bottom line on being female in the workplace?
You have to own it with confidence.
Larissa, do you have a question for Ivanka?
What experience do you think is necessary to become a successful entrepreneur?
Well, you know, I think that experience is something, unfortunately, you can't abridge. People are afraid to ask advice of older colleagues because, and I was in the same boat, it almost, there's a fear that it exposes that inexperience.
You're nodding over there again.
Yeah, I always make sure I do my homework first, and when I ask a question, it's after I've tried to find the answer.
It's you know, a fine line because, you know, as a young person who asks these questions myself, you don't want to become a nuisance to a colleague or a boss.
So the bottom line on experience is?
You can't fake it. So, you know, make sure that you make educated decisions, especially if you haven't had the track record.
Gay, you have a question.
I sure do. I have a small business, and I really would like to get some funding. The most awful time right now to try to be a small business and try to get funding.
The banks really are not lending, as I'm sure you've experienced, and especially to smaller businesses without a proven track record. There are great opportunities with angel investors, and I know a lot of my friends are getting into that space, realizing that there are great opportunities because there's so many young businesses that are backed by incredible talent that can't go to the mainstream venues for funding.
Bottom line on seeking backing in a very tough economy.
Do your homework. Put together a very solid presentation and think through all the questions somebody may ask you.
Tracy, you're also a young businesswoman.
My question to you, when you are doing marketing, how can you do that on a really slim marketing budget?
Interestingly, Kathy Black wrote a section in my book, and she had a great tip that whenever you meet with somebody, try to get them to refer you to at least 3 other people. And if you can leave a meeting with 3 names of people you can contact or should contact, that is an amazing resource. But more generally, we have so many outlets that never existed years ago by way of social media. So one of the things I've started doing is Twittering. What I'll do is, recently I posted a rendering of a hotel that we have coming online in Toronto that's under construction. The feedback I got from people saying what they loved, what they didn't love, thankfully it was almost all love. So we did a good job.
So bottom line on marketing on a tight budget.
Use social media, and then of course community outreach. There's so many opportunities to be out there in the community and educate people on your product.
Well, I've learned a lot today. Ivanka, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for coming to talk to us.
And thank you all. I look forward to hopefully working with each and every one of you at some point.